There are profound differences tonight, and I look forward to engaging. But there's one thing in closing that we have in common is neither of us will be the nominee for our party in 2024.
Governor Gavin Newsom last night, he lied so many times, it was hard to keep track. Fact checkers have opened veins over last night's event on Fox News. How much time do you have to fact check? Honestly. Boy, I've got stuff going on all over the place for you today. I got about a 7-hour bucket of content for today. And I'm not going to be able to get to all of it, but I do want to share because we're raising money today, yesterday, and today, and you can donate tomorrow for Fisher House, the great Fisher House. We've been working with Fisher House. I've been working with Fisher House for many years to raise money for this great organization. We get the highest ratings for charities by, the Charity Watchers. Highest scores you can get because they spend all the money on the mission and not on operations and things like so many other outfits do. But please donate at 888-294-8560, 888-294-8560 to donate. And I do want to share with you because we've got Lauren from Fairfax, Virginia, donated $250. And Lauren notes here, Lauren was on our Chris Plant Sea Cruise last year, our excellent sea cruise last year, which was wonderful. From, beautiful place to beautiful place. Where did we go last year? We went to Barcelona, and we started in Barcelona. We did southern Spain and Morocco. We went into Casablanca, and wonderful. And then up to the Algarve and southern Portugal, and then Lisbon. Wonderful. And Lauren was on that trip with us. Lauren from Fairfax, Virginia, $250. That's American money. Leslie R. Wants to, be somewhat discreet. Leslie R. donated $1,000 in honor of her brother who fought in Vietnam. And listen to this. Looking forward to talking to Chris on his upcoming cruise, our upcoming sea cruise. We begin in Amsterdam. We end in London. We circle the British Isles, Scotland and Northern Ireland and Wales and England. Mostly English-speaking-ish countries, great stuff. So wonderful. Thank you, Lauren, and thank you, Leslie, and looking forward to, I'm going to buy you a cocktail. I'm going to buy you a martini on the, hey, wait, all the alcohol is free on those ships. Yeah, I know, but that's okay. I'll help. I'll go get it and bring it over. Christine from Charleston, South Carolina, just donated to Fisher House for the first time. Christine from Charleston, South Carolina, wonderful. For the first time, $1,000 from Christine in Charleston, South Carolina. First time donor to the Fisher House. And Paul from Charleston, South Carolina as well. Coincidence? What do you think? I don't know. Paul from Charleston, South Carolina. Christine from Charleston, South Carolina. Paul donated, listen to this now, $1,005.90. $1,005.90. Why, you might ask, would you donate $1,005.90? Well, because Paul knows that my mothership station, my radio station mothership, where I began my illustrious radio career, is WMAL in Washington, D.C., and that on your radio dial is 105.9 on the FM dial. So that's great from Paul in Charleston, South Carolina. $1,005.90. See, that's good. That's thoughtful, clever. Home station, WML, 105.9 on the FM dial. And a lot of people listen to the radio show on the WMAL app. It's an app, like an application. All over the world. We do have listeners all over the world. We've heard from listeners. We haven't heard from Stephen in Jerusalem for several weeks now. But I hope and I trust that he's doing great in Jerusalem. We have listeners and callers from Canada, a great listener in Belize. We've had calls from Greece lately, I know listeners in Brazil and elsewhere, because WMAL is a global station. It is, and so many people have come through Washington, D.C. over the years. And if you're pro-American, you make this your radio station. And then when you leave and go someplace else, particularly overseas, thanks to Al Gore, peace be upon him, and his beloved internet, you can tap in anywhere in the world, and that's a good thing. And that's a good thing. Now, the breaking news on top of the other breaking news, the House of Representatives has voted to expel indicted Representative George Santos from Congress. The New York Republican became just the third lawmaker since the Civil War, which the Democrats started so they could keep slavery. Since the Civil War, to be expelled from the House of Representatives. Just the third since the Civil War. He's a weirdo. The guy's a weirdo, no doubt about it. I don't want to hang out with him. All right? And the story just broke minutes ago. NBC Fake News is excited to report it. The House voted overwhelmingly to expel indicted Representative George Santos on Friday, pulling the curtain down on a tempestuous term. You got me. Tempestuous. It's not a word that I normally use. It's a feminine word, don't you think? Tempestuous. Term in office that was marred by revelations that he'd fabricated parts of his biography. Joe Biden does that constantly. Joe Biden makes up stuff about his past all the time, from corn pop to the Naval Academy to the list is long, all the fact checkers. And Joe Biden, he fabricated parts of his biography, a scathing House ethics investigation, and a 23-count federal indictment charged him with crimes like wire fraud and money laundering. He apparently abused campaign funds, and I guess he likes Botox. Is that true? He's a Botox guy? Is that part of his thing? Santos, Republican from New York, had survived two previous attempts to expel him this year, one in May and the other about a month ago. But Santos began losing significant support just before Thanksgiving. It's the holiday season. After the bipartisan House Ethics Committee issued a damning 56-page report detailing allegations that Santos deceived his donors, filed false campaign statements, and used campaign money to fund his lavish lifestyle. I think that if he just leaves the Republican Party, declares himself to be a Democrat, and runs again, that everything would be fine. Don't you think? I think then he'd be on the side of Satan's angels, and they'd welcome him with open arms. Along with the things he spent campaign funds on were rent, luxury designer goods. That's kind of vague, isn't it? Luxury designer goods. Personal trips to Las Vegas and the Hamptons. The Hamptons, a lot of Democrat donors up there. Cosmetic treatments, including Botox. There it is there. I just said that. And a subscription to the adult content site OnlyFans. OnlyFans. I don't know about that. Do you know about that site? He's a gay man, right? Yeah. Yeah. That's and Botox. See, so that's a lot of stuff. Speaker Mike Johnson said his leadership team wouldn't whip the vote one way or the other, instead allowing members to vote their conscience. Imagine that. See, the Democrats, going back to the Civil War, they prefer the whip. They like whipping votes and slaves. They're the Democrat Party, the Confederate States of America. But just before the vote, he and his team came out in opposition to removing the freshman fabulist. They called him a fabulist at NBC News. Johnson had previously signaled he would oppose expulsion, saying, "I personally have real reservations about things. I'm concerned about a precedent that may be set." So in any case, he's out. He's been kicked out of Congress, only the third since the Civil War. He's a Republican. I think it's because they're homophobic, don't you think? And Botox phobic. It might be Botox phobia. That could be part of it. That's crazy. Yes, it is. Santos quickly became a political liability for a handful of vulnerable New York Republicans who were part of the same freshman class. his fellow New Yorkers, including Representatives Anthony D'Esposito, Nick LaLota, and Mark Molinaro. They're all Italian. Notice that? They're all got 3 Italians there. That's fun. And they led the oust to push him out, to oust him. So that's kind of interesting because politics. So he's out. Now, with that said, you got to bring it up because it's appropriate in this context. There is a Democrat senator who is a well-known criminal and has been for a long time. Didn't he have issues in the Dominican Republic with underage prostitutes? Isn't that, do I remember that correctly? Because Bob Menendez, they call him Bob, not Robert, gold bars and stacks of cash, they love their colons. How Bob Menendez ended up charged with bribery. See, he's in the Senate, and he's been charged with crimes, too. And, in fact, the crimes are up the yin-yang, and they're all over the place. The New Jersey senator, I love to say, don't call him a Democrat yet, says he won't resign, but a federal indictment lays out a lurid scheme of alleged corruption. The corruption has been alleged. When federal prosecutors raided Bob Menendez's home in the summer of 2022, well over a year ago, they found a staggering haul. The U.S. Senator for New Jersey, one of the most influential and powerful Democrats in the country, The Guardian in the UK reports, had almost $500,000 in cash stuffed into jacket pockets, closets, and a safe. That's more appropriately in the safe, along with 13 gold bars, 2 of them marked as 1 kilogram in weight. That's a pretty good amount of money there. In the garage was a gleaming Mercedes-Benz, allegedly bought for Menendez and his wife, she's been charged also, along with her husband, with accepting bribes in return for political favors. Imagine that. So the gold bars, and where were the gold bars from again? They were from Egypt, right? So who in Egypt is giving this Democrat senator gold bars, big old gold bars? I like gold bars. Gold bars are nice. You don't really want a 1 kilo gold, but you want one of the big ones, like in, the movie Goldfinger, like the size of a brick. One of the big bricks. You want one of those. That's got to be worth some cash, I'm thinking. Yeah, so is the Senate under the Lizard King, Chuck Schumer, going to expel Menendez now? Here's the short answer. No. No, they're not. They're Democrats. They don't care. They're going to walk it off. And what about the child prostitutes and the that just was swept away. That was no big deal at all. Oh, speaking of which, Democrat senators blocking the release of a very lurid bit of paper that should be released. And what do you hear this? It's Dickie Durbin again. Here he comes, the turban. And what is it that he's blocking? He's preventing the release of, what is it? Flight logs? Epstein didn't kill himself? Why is Dickie the Turban blocking the release of these documents having to do with the flight logs of Jeffrey Epstein, speaking of underage prostitutes in faraway places? Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Visit ChrisPlantCruise.com. You may be aware that yesterday and today, we on the Chris Plant Show are raising money for the Fisher House and the Fisher House Foundation. And the number to contribute is 888-294-8560. We've been talking to people who have had, who worked for Fisher House and have had experiences with Fisher House. And on the line now, we've got Jack DeLue. Jack is an Army paratrooper and got in a motorcycle accident. And Jack, I guess you found yourself in need of the great services that Fisher House provides, huh?
Oh, yes, sir, very much.
Well, you're a rompin', stompin' paratrooper, so you're a brave man and a risk taker, and you're riding a motorcycle, and you had a serious accident. And tell me what happened from there, Jack.
Yes, sir. So my first motorcycle accident was October 30th of 2015. I hit and killed an 1,800-pound cow on my motorcycle, and that story could only have any truth in Fort Hood, Texas. But that happened. That happened, and I was in a medicinal coma for 21 days. And while I was in the coma, the Fisher House put up my friends and family so they could come out. I'm from born and raised North Carolina, so being stationed out of Fort Hood, Texas was like a whole nother world to me and my family. So the Fisher House jumped through the hoops, and they did anything and everything I could have ever asked for in regards to taking care of my family.
Wow. So you're at Hood. You're in the Army. You're riding your motorcycle. Were you going 100 miles an hour? No, I don't want to, if you're violating the speed limit. Were you going 120 miles an hour?
No, sir. I was actually just driving back to base from just hanging out with some buddies, and it was about 2:45 in the morning, and I was just driving back to base, and a herd of cattle came out on the road, and I just happened to catch one.
Wow, that is a crazy story. That is kind of an only in Texas story. And so it's good and dark, and you're riding along. It's a dark road, and hey, what are all these cows doing here? And an 800 cow. Now, just to be clear, you're a soldier, U.S. Army, so you did kill the cow, right? You said that, right?
Oh, yes, sir. I killed about it was projected to be about 1,800-pound cow.
Wow, that is.
Or a steer.
That is wild. Did they let you keep the steaks or anything?
Still to this day, I don't believe I ever had one because I never smelled my cologne or anything. So it had to be from other cattle.
That's great. And boy, 21 day, you were in an induced coma for 21 days. That is serious stuff. And then you came out of the coma, and your family is steps away at a Fisher House. Is that right?
Yes, sir. So the accident happened in Fort Hood, Texas, and then they shipped me down to Fort Sam Houston down to San Antonio, Texas.
Wow.
And when I came back to, like, my family were around my bedside, and I had to get caught up on everything that had happened because of a TBI or traumatic brain injury that I sustained.
Yeah. Yeah, and the big medical facility is at Fort Sam, right, in San Antonio.
Yes, sir.
So they medevaced you there because, in 21 days in an induced coma. And when you came to, there's your family. That's Fisher House,
yes,
huh? Boy.
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. Fisher House. They put everyone up. They gave us anything and everything we could have ever asked for, and it was a God-honest blessing to have the Fisher House and to have people looking out for me and for my family. I couldn't have asked for any better.
God bless you, Jack. Saluting you, sir. Just God bless you. 888-294-8560. Yeah, we once a year we take 2 days, and thanks to you, we raise money for Fisher House, which really is just the greatest, and they do get the highest ratings you can get for charities, for charitable organizations, and what better cause our troops, our military, people serving, sacrificing, offering, everything, and amazing, and the latest we have. Patricia from Middlebury, Vermont, spouse of career military. $1,000 from Patricia. And Patricia says she has visited the Fisher House in Landstuhl, Germany, which is where so many of our combat wounded were transported out of Iraq and Afghanistan because of the world-class military facility there at Landstuhl in Germany. And Patricia didn't explain why visited Fisher House in Landstuhl, but the usual reason would be because a family member, career spouse perhaps, found himself at the military facility Landstuhl in Germany after being medevaced out of either Iraq or Afghanistan, in all probability. And Patricia contributed very generously $1,000. We have Rodney, who is on a C-5A crew at Dover Air Force Base in Delaware. Rodney has donated $200 American, says that Chris, that's me, should visit the museum on the base, Dover Air Force Base, when he's in Dover. I'm looking over a four-leaf clover. I haven't been to Dover lately, but, Delaware's a fun state. It's got some problems, the Biden family, to name one, but never mind that. So we've got Rodney, the C-5A Galaxy, gigantic Gigunda transport plane, huge jet engine, four jet engine airplane, and it's like when the President of the United States travels, you might see C-5As going with the motorcade in the back. You can also transport armored, all kinds of, big, heavy stuff, tanks. The C-5A is the biggest mamma jamma. We got the C-17 newer, but the C-5A Galaxy is it's mamma jamma, I'm telling you. And Rodney works on a C-5A crew at Dover. $200. Thank you, Rodney. Saluting you. And I will visit the museum when I get to Dover. Also, Andrew from Frederick, Maryland. Who lives in Frederick, Maryland? We know people live in Frederick, Maryland. Andrew from Frederick, Maryland donated $105.90 in honor of Jules Orteg, that's my father, because were it not for him, there would be no Chris Plant. That's what it says. That's in honor of my father who art in heaven, as we used to say when we were children. 105, because WMAL 105.9 on your radio dial. That's great stuff. Andrew, thank you very much. Rodney, God bless. Saluting you once again. And Patricia, saluting you, military spouse. Been to the Fisher House at Landstuhl. $1,000. Thank you all very much. $1 million donation, if you're a billionaire or something. $1 million. And I'll come over to your house and cut your lawn. And my the other host, the morning host, the evening host, Vince Colonnese, said on WMAL 105.9 in Washington, one of the most popular apps on the planet Earth. Well, for radio, things like that. And Vince Colonnese said that he would come over with his weed whacker, and he'd go around the edges, do the edging. Larry O'Connor, our morning show host, said he would come over with Patrice Onwuka, the wonderful Patrice Onwuka, and they would sit in lawn chairs and drink margaritas and watch us and laugh at us. So that's for $1 million. And we got that. I think that's very nice. All right. I know we're doing a lot of things here today, and there are a lot of moving parts, and I want to get to a call here in just a moment, but I want to share with them, there's just so much to share, about the ceasefire ending, the truce. It wasn't really a ceasefire. It wasn't really a truce. The troglodytes from hell launched at least one missile yesterday out of the Gaza to try to kill some more Jews because that's what they live and die to do. They're homicidal, suicidal, genocidal death cult. They are Hamas. They are radical Islam. And so the Israelis took back to the skies and dropped a couple bombs on the terrorists, which the Voice of America won't refer to as terrorists, using our taxpayer dollars to lie, And two Palestinians showed up at a bus stop in Jerusalem and mowed down 19 people. And I think it was two off-duty military people, is that right, that shot them to death and killed them, which is the thing to do. That's what you do. And we have that Kabul Kirby soundbite because I was watching the briefing at the White House yesterday, and Kabul Kirby, a disgraced former naval officer, was asked, hey, a couple of Palestinians just mowed down a whole bunch of civilians at a bus stop in Jerusalem, murdering at least 3 of them and wounding at least 16. Does that mean that they have, pulled the plug on the pause? And Kabul Kirby had this to say.
Regarding the attack in Jerusalem, in which Hamas has taken credit, does the U.S. View that attack in any way to be a violation of the ongoing truce between Israel and Hamas?
I don't want to get in. I'm not a.
What are you not?
A lawyer here. This attack happened in Jerusalem. Right. The pauses in the fighting were specific to Gaza.
Okay, so that's as simple as that. I mean, it wasn't. Therefore, it didn't violate.
It didn't technically violate the deal that was in place, but obviously it's a stark reminder of who they're facing and what kind of enemy that they're opposing.
Yeah. Now the updating. Now you hear what he just said, right? And now the headline is 4 killed, and pay no attention because Kabul Kirby at the White House said, well, that was in Jerusalem, so that doesn't count as a violation of the pause, which is the White House telling every terrorist anywhere near Israel that you can kill anybody anywhere in Israel, sweet as you please, and it doesn't violate the pause, doesn't violate any agreement. That's what Kabul Kirby just said there. Now, that's your White House. That's your Biden White House. That's the U.S. government. That's pretty remarkable, I've got to say. 2 gunmen, Hamas gunmen, opened fire, and the reporter said they took credit. I might have said took responsibility if I were the reporter asking the question, but that's me. 2 Hamas gunmen opened fire at Jerusalem bus stop, killing 3. It's possible that 1 died later from wounds. The 2 Hamas gunmen killed 3 people at Jerusalem bus stop during morning rush hour on Thursday. And Israel reiterated its commitment to wiping out the Palestinian Islamic Islamist faction, and the killing spree. I got to tell you, this is just mad world. The terrorists arrived at the scene by car in the morning, armed with an M16 rifle and a handgun. The M16 rifle might have been from the overflow that Joe Biden left in Afghanistan. The terrorists have been spreading them around. We left an awful lot of hardware there, an awful lot of equipment there, and who do you think's going to use it? The terrorists began shooting at civilians before subsequently being killed at the scene. So that's the happy part of this story. And they also fired at least 1 missile into Israel yesterday from the Gaza. And Kabul Kirby said, well, no, technically that I'm not a lawyer, so don't quote me. I'm just the spokesman here at the podium at the White House for the National Security Council of the United States of America. But I think that technically does not violate the agreement. So you can kill as you will anywhere else in Israel, and that doesn't violate the agreement. That was an invitation to madness, of course, by the Biden White House. That's just amazing. Well, let me take that back. It's not amazing. It's appalling, but it's not amazing. That's just who they are. Crazy. Yeah, I say. Now, we were just talking about Senator Menendez and the gold bars and the $500,000 in cash. Now, the Lizard King, Chuck Schumer, is not going to expel him from the Senate just because he had $500,000 in cash stuffed into pockets of jackets hanging in closets and piles of gold bars, apparently from people in Egypt, and Mercedes-Benz that was given as a gift. And there's nothing to see here, right? Nothing to see. Well, Senator Menendez, this is a news media tradition and a Democrat family tradition. Senator Menendez has a daughter, which might be his own, and her name is Alicia Menendez. Alicia Menendez is an anchor woman at MSNBC. Right? And I've had a reliable journalist friend of mine has made me aware that Alicia Menendez has her own show on MSNBC, Democrat Party front group, and that she's spent this week talking about the corruption of various politicians, right? Including people that might be expelled from the House of Representatives, like George Santos, spending a lot of time talking about that. But she never mentioned her own father and the closet full of cash and the Mercedes-Benz and the pile of gold bars. And You'll all be happy to learn that Alicia Menendez has now been given a new weekend show on MSNBC. And she's very excited to be launching her new Propaganda Front. That's actually the name of the show. It's called Democrat Propaganda Front with Alicia Menendez. That's not really what it's called. I just named it that, but that's not really what it's called. That's your Democrat Party. They're not well. Here is WAMU, American University left-wing taxpayer teat radio, where they're about a mile from the radio station where we sit right now. And WAMU, that's an NPR, National Panhandler radio station. Give them everything. Give them your car. Maybe it's like Senator Menendez. Give them your car. Give them your real estate. Your kids don't deserve to inherit anything. Give everything to National Panhandler Radio. Your cows, your real estate, your private jet. Give them everything. Here's their headline. Local black activists join pro-Palestinian, ceasefire demonstrations. They want to cease fire so that the terrorists can regroup and come back and wipe out Israel. All right. Frankie Sebron, they type on behalf of the radical left at WAMU. Frankie Sebron says that protesting for Palestine is akin to protesting for black lives. See, this is the radical left-wing extremist construct. It's the Marxist construct. It is the critical race theory construct, the DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion construct, which holds that all people of color are victims in the world. Therefore, all white people are evil. In fact, we had that guy, another guy we didn't play yesterday, was the one that wrote the story about the 9-year-old boy that went to the Kansas City Chiefs game, and he wore the Chiefs colors on his face, the black on one side and the red on the other side. And the crooked reporter at Deadspin wrote a slanderous smear of a 9-year-old boy, new lows, absolutely new lows. And he was doing an interview on a black-only program because they're all racists. And he said he's big man on campus over at this Deadspin. And he said that he would give voice to anyone as long as they're not straight white men. Gay white men, yes, check that box. That might tell us something about him, I'm not sure. Women, any POC, that's people of color. He would give airtime, he would give print to anybody except straight white men. That's what he said. Because he's a racist, obviously, and he's a heterophobe. I think he's suffering from heterophobia. Why does he have heterophobia? What do you think that tells about him? About this racist? What was that racist name again? Karen. Yeah, Karen's first name is Karen, Carron. Yeah, Karen Phillips. Yeah, heterophobia and racism at its best. Deadspin. That's a left-wing publication. They're all the same. I don't want to generalize, but these lefties, they're all the same. Now, Senator Rand Paul, who is a medical doctor, sprang into action and used the Heimlich maneuver on fellow Republican Senator Joni Ernst. She's the Iowa Republican. She was choking on food at lunch yesterday. And Senator Rand Paul's, of course, a medical doctor. And sprang into action, gave Joni Ernst the Heimlich maneuver, popped that food out of her throat. And Senator Joni Ernst is fine. And Senator Rand Paul is a medical doctor. And you can read stories about it. And they still don't say that he's a medical doctor. He is a doctor. And Jill Biden is not. I just want to say that. All right, let's go back because today is our second day of 2 days a year where we help to raise money for the Fisher House. People most wonderful. 888-294-8560. And on the line, we have Tom DeLue, who is amazingly the father of Jack DeLue, who we spoke to a little while ago. Sir, Mr. Lou, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
You bet. Now, as I said, we spoke to your son Jack just a little while ago and his amazing story. And now we can hear from your end. Now, you're also an Army veteran yourself and a caregiver now to your son, Jack. Why don't you tell me how you were introduced to Fisher House?
Well, when he had his first accident in October of 15, I was getting ready to go to work, and I got a call from his first sergeant to advise me that he'd been in an accident. He was in the hospital. And he said that they had contact. They said, were told us where he was at, I think, Scott White, out near Killeen. And so, I mean, it was just, I just unpacked and repacked and called his mother, and we were on our way. We got out there that evening to find him in the hospital. And then after several days there, he was in a medicinal coma because of his brain injury. And after several days, they transported him down to Sam Houston, which was a bigger, I guess, better facility.
Right.
And the Red Cross had taken care of his mother and I when we were up in Killeen. They took care of our rooms and stuff, and I mean, they were wonderful. But when we got down to Sam Houston, we were advised to get in touch with the Fisher House, and from there it was just heavenly. They took us in. They put us in different houses because we were divorced at the time, and they couldn't put. I asked them not to put us together. So they took us into the Fisher House, and they just took care of our needs, gave us everything we needed, toiletries, anything that we needed. They were there for us. And had it not been for them, I mean, I was out there for 2 weeks the first time, and then I went back near Christmas. And if it weren't for them, I wouldn't have been able to go out there and just hang out.
Yeah. And that's, I tell you, Tom, that's something I hadn't heard, is that you and your wife were divorced at the time, and they put you in separate houses. That's pretty accommodating, huh?
It's probably for safety reasons. I'm kidding. But yes, sir, they did, and then I left, and technically they, by their rules, they're not supposed to allow, or supposed to have separate rooms or separate things for the families. And but the woman that ran the Fisher House on Sam Houston right there by the hospital was so gracious to me. She just, and I told her that I wanted to come back. She said, well, we're not supposed to. I said, okay, well, thanks for trying. And she said, well, I'll tell you what, because then she met Jack, because Jack had gotten out. He was out allowed to walk
and
around.
They accommodate you because they're the Fisher House, and they are amazing. God bless you, and thank you, and I'm saluting you, sir. Please, 888-294-8560.